Right, I'm going to do some Frank Sinatra leveling on this guitar. And if you've never heard of Frank Sinatra leveling, it means my way. I'm going to do it my way. Lots of other ways to do it. But my way is I use a rocker. I don't know what they call these. They're a leveling tool. And I'm going to use a straight leveling sanding block. You can get them anywhere for about £3 or £4. And here comes Georgie Girl, because I started to talk, she wants to be involved. But the first thing you do to get, are you going to, yes you are. Okay, Georgie Girl wants a cuddle. Now, Georgie Girl has gone, I think, but I'm also going to show you probably the world's dirtiest neck. You probably see that. It is stinking dirty, thick, glary dirty with fingerprints. And you rub your finger across, you can feel mounds. I don't think that neck has ever been cleaned. So, the first thing to do is to make sure the neck is perfectly straight before you do any leveling. And this neck is pretty good actually, but it could do with being tightened a little bit. This is a Jackson Flying V. It's not in very good shape, but it uses a nut as opposed to an Allen key. And so I've managed to find a bolt that you have to put in specially. What do you call it? A nut that you have to put in, but you have to put it in a nut first. And then there. It's not quite the right size, and you have to be really careful because the right size won't go in that hole. And so, there we go. So I'm going to tighten it a bit just to get the neck as straight as I can. And would you believe it? That's it, perfectly straight. So that can go away. You can go over there. Now the job is to measure each fret and to see what height it is. Now use one of those. Now they're £1 or £2 off Amazon or Wish, but what you're doing is you're putting that edge across 3 flets. Flets? What kind of flets are they? And you're feeling for a rocker. So when I do that there, I'm seeing there's a seesaw action on it. Now you'll see on that one there is a seesaw action. So what I will do is I'll mark that just a little bit. And I'm going to be fussy on this one. I'm never usually this fussy, but I'll try the middle as well. No, that's fine. So it's slightly high there. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for rocking, if there's any rocking. And if there's rocking, it tells me, yeah, there's some rocking there in the middle of that one. I hope I got it right. You must check it again to make sure I've taken my eyes off it for a second. Yeah, no. And the reason why this thing has got 5 or 6 sides is because when you get down further you're going to have to use a shorter side because of the 3 frets. And I'm looking for a rocking motion. Very often on the 12th fret there's always on the 12th fret, not always on the fret, very often on the 12th fret there's a rocking. Very small. So on that side too. And what we're doing when we put the mark on is when we rub the sander over it, when the mark goes, you'll know that you've brought down that fret a little bit. Maybe not enough. So that one needs to be brought down. This is all about leveling. And then we're going to clean this bloody thing because it's rotten. But I'm not going to scrape it. So it's on that side too. You can, if you're not fussy, just do the two sides. Ooh, good rock in the middle of that one. Ha ha ha, rock and roll. Oh, same there. So that whole thing across there's needing to be done. There too, where it connects to the body. There. Now, why should you fix a slightly high fret down there? Because you're never going to play down there, are you? Unless you're Van Halen or something like that there. The reason is because, say that's higher there, you can't get your strings as low as you really want them. If you want good action across the way, you've got to bring all the frets down the same. So that high fret would mean your string would have to be higher to compensate for the whole thing the whole way down. Now we're going to the small tiny one, and I think maybe we're coming to the end of the no, that's pretty good. Right, so that's done its job. Now if I'm going to use this, I'm going to cover the pickups a bit because I'm spreading little shavings of metal. Now mind you, on this guitar it's not going to matter too much because it's in such bad shape. I'll probably put a video together of the whole guitar being set up, but I won't show it in this video. This is just to do with fret leveling and cleaning this disgusting neck. So that's just there. So there's two ways we can do this. We could use a fret file and just go over the ones that need to be done. These are broad frets, so I think actually the second breath would be doing it. So you could do it that way and just take off a bit in the middle. You feel it. Or you can use this. Now this has got 1000, 600, 1200 and 400, and I use it like this. A lot of people do it different ways, but this is the way I do it. And you can see that the marks that I put on are going away. And I'm just going to check that again. What did I do with it? Come here. Still a bit more to take off it with the 400. I don't know why I do it like this. Theoretically you could do it up and down, and I don't think it would do any harm, except for maybe that edge would catch on a fret, but I do it like this. Round and round and round she goes. Where she stops. Now I'll just lift that up a bit. And you'll see this one in particular, the little black mark down there, that means that's high. So how far I want to take it down, I don't know, but let's just see, and I'll check it again. I'm going to check this all again, by the way. I'll probably speed through that. Look, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Doesn't take an awful lot. I think I could do with another bit there. Now what you will notice is the top of those, I don't know whether you'll notice it on that or not, but the top of them are slightly flat now where I brought them down. And that's where I will use the fret file to make them round again. So let me just do a couple more checks here to make sure that I've caught them the way I want them to be caught. Yeah, okay. Boring stuff, but it gives you the opportunity to have really, really good action. Right, okay, so that can go away now, and that can go away now. Now what I'm going to do is just run this. This is a, let me show it you that way. This is a file, very nice file. It was bought to me by somebody who watches YouTube, and it's got for, let me just see, there's for thin frets, that one. That's for medium frets, and that's for fat frets. Now these just aren't as fat enough, so these would be called, for me, they'd be medium frets. So what I'm going to do is just, doesn't take very long, takes a few seconds just to run the file over them. And what I'm doing is I'm running it up and I'm running it back. So there is a slight convex, I forget, it's slightly rounded, and that will bring the frets, take away the flat edge. And now, if you're really, you see I'm rocking my hand, rocking around the, right, okay. Oh. Some people cover the frets with tape. I've said this before, and some people don't. In this guitar, I'm not doing it. If it was a highly glossed neck, I probably would cover the frets. But this is not a highly glossed neck. This is a natural wooden neck. And I'm being very careful with this kind of special file because it's away from the neck. I'm putting my finger there to hold it. This is a very good file. I love this file because you're nowhere near touching the neck. Nowhere near touching the fretboard, should I say. And it's very handy for me if you've got a whole pile of guitars to do. The other fret files, I'll show you one here. Here's another fret file that you could use, but it's closer to the neck because it's not rounded. I might use that in emergency someday, but this at the moment is my favorite fret file. So we're nowhere near finished yet. We're nowhere near finished yet. I wonder if we can do this all in one shot. This will remove any burrs that were left on it by the sandpaper by going up and down it. It doesn't take an awful lot. You're not taking very much off the frets either. You're only taking a minuscule amount. Now, story time. At 5 o'clock this morning I jumped out of bed with a terrible cramp in the back of my leg, right? And eventually I got back to sleep again, and then at 6 o'clock I jumped out of bed because I heard screaming in the living room. And I live on my own with Georgie Girl, who's trying to walk all over this guitar now. So I rushed in to find out what the screaming was at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I discovered that Georgie Girl had caught a bird. And it was the bird that was screaming. Now that's not unusual for a cat to catch a bird, but Georgie Girl's an indoor cat. So how she brought a bird into the house, it appears I have a netted catio. It's a wire mesh catio built to the side of the house where she can go into the catio and she can get fresh air and all and walk about it. and then come back into the house, but she's not outside and she's protected from dogs or anything like that there because it's high up. It's about 4 foot off the ground and it's attached to the side of my house in the window. Maybe I'll actually take a picture of it and let you see it. But what had happened is a bird had got through the wire of it, a square wire like that there. I left it fairly large square wire, and a bird had got in through it but couldn't get out again. So I took Georgie Girl and moved her away from the bird, and the place was covered in feathers, absolutely covered in feathers, because she must have been playing with this bird for about an hour, and the bird looked half dead. So I took Georgie Girl away, and let me just look at this, and I turned around and the bird had moved to the far end of the lounge. So I went over and the bird flew up to the windowsill, and that was encouraging. So I gently lifted it, and it was terrified, obviously. It was a fairly young bird. And I opened the window and it just flew off, like as if nothing had happened. So it turns out that Georgie Girl wasn't trying to kill it. Georgie Girl was playing with it, and playing with it, and playing with it. Now the bird didn't want to be played with, obviously. So it was panicked and stressed, but I was delighted to see it flew away. And I just hope the stress didn't affect it too much, because you can never tell with fragile little animals like birds. But Georgie Girl was allowed back in again, and she looked all proud until I brought the vacuum cleaner out, because I had to, at 6:30 in the morning, I had to start vacuuming, and the whole place needed to be vacuumed. Boy, Georgie Girl is black, but her name was black by the time I finished. I eventually got to bed at 7:30. So there you go, that's the story, and I'm just going to take off this. Now, the way I'm going to clean this neck, and I think you can see how dirty it is. Maybe you'll just flick about in cameras and we'll take that off too. Let me just move that. Gosh. This is so dirty. Maybe you'll see it on the other camera, this one here, very much. But what I'm going to try not to do is I'm trying not to scrape it. I'm going to wash it. Not yet. Sorry, one more thing to do. I forgot to do this. This is 600 grit sandpaper. I should have kept that on. Let me put that back on again. I didn't say I was perfect, although I am perfect, but that's beside the point. Right, I'll put that back on there. Give me another bit of tape. I'm perfectly stupid. Right, another bit of tape. Telling the story, and I forgot to pay attention to what I was doing. Right, so what I'm going to do now is take the 600 grit sandpaper and just go up and down like that, and that will round off, because my fingers are going across it, that will round it off even more. It will remove the scrapes that were left by the file, and it will begin the process of polishing the frets. And in this way too, you can see how dirty the frets are, because the sandpaper is creating dust which is sticking to the dirt. So all I'm doing is rubbing this with 600 until I feel it's right. Edges of the Jackson are very good, although I do feel something there. Well, I'll check that later. Oh, it's just a bit of dirt. Right, okay. So that will be enough with the 600. But now I'm going to use 2000. Now 2000 will take even the minuscule scratches off. Whenever you've got paintwork, you use 400, 600, 800, 1000, 2000, and then 3000. And 3000 is almost good enough. You just polish, and just because it's so fine. But as you'll see from this, if you can see it on one of the cameras, you'll see that these are now really, really shiny. Now if you're mad, if you really want to, you can go up to 3000, 5000, 10,000. or you can use rubbers, fret rubbers. But I think this is fine because this guitar is in a terrible state down below. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wash it because it needs to be washed. And where is my little bit of soap and water? Again, I stress you can use soap and water on your guitar neck if you wish, but don't leave it on for too long. Don't leave it on for hours because then it will go onto your frets and it'll start to rot the frets. If you leave it on, say I was to leave it on now and I left it all night, then it begins the process of swelling the wood and then it gets all dirty. And then it gets in between the frets and it'll give you problems. So you can use water on your neck to scrub it. This is a nylon brush. You can use a nail brush if you want. But this should do the job down the whole way down this. As long as you don't leave it on too long, the water, and let it soak in below your frets or something like that. But you can see I'm going below the frets if I can with the nylon, well, not below them. Another thing you'll see is I'm using lino as my guitar bench, which I love the idea of because you can get majority of any chemicals on it and it just wipe up, which is excellent, you know. So I've done that a few times. I've spilled some things, you've probably seen them. Super glue, blah blah blah, I spilled on them. So, right, okay. Tissue. Now, will that take it off? Will that take off as much as I want? Look how dirty that was. I'll just clean up below. Okay. Has that taken off all the dirt of a guitar neck that has never been washed? Let me just see. It looks like it. It looks like it. And I'm pressing at each side of the fret to get any excess squeeze off the water. And then when I've done this, I'm going to do my favorite smelly stuff. I'm going to lemon oil it. And that'll be it. That'll be it. It'll be a beautiful neck to behold. Pity about the rest of the guitar. But I will put up a... Let me put that there to save any water. Right, okay. Right. Dunlop 65, sorry. And it's my favorite. And I'm putting a bit on this and I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes. This will push out any water as well if there has been any sort of tiny drops of water, although I doubt it, in there. Again, you say the disclaimer is make sure you're using lemon oil that has got mineral oil, 90% mineral, 99% mineral oil in it, because it's good for your hands. Mineral oil. People say it's bad for your hands. Well, that's if you use crappy stuff that's made out of all sorts of chemicals. Now you see I've left more than what I want to leave on that. But literally that's it. That's all you need to do. When I finish the guitar, I'll put a link up to the end of this video to let you see the final guitar. But that's the neck and everything looking gorgeous. It really is. And that dirt, that finger dirt, it's all come off, I'm delighted to say. All right, goodbye.